Hey guys, this is Nebula Sketch here. I'm making my first video for YouTube, and what better to start with than an AutoRealm tutorial. So if you don't know what AutoRealm is, it's a map making program. Great for D&D and that sort of role-playing game that you've got to make maps for. It's free, and it's a really small download, so go get it, and then I'll teach you how to use it. I'm using Cam Studio to do the recording here, which is also free, and it's a small download as well, so if you want to make your own videos, use that. So let's get into it. Here's the screen. This is your graph paper, and all your tools are around the edges. We'll start with drawing in this one. I'll be covering the drawing tools, graph paper, and some of the associated tools that go with those, and a couple of other things. So let's start with the normal drawing tools. They're like in Paint, freehand. You just scribble. Delete key to get rid of that. Line tool lets you draw lines. Polyline lets you make a couple of lines and connect them together, like that. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. Curve tool lets you select 2 points and then bend a line back and forth like that, which is nice for creating squiggles and curves and that sort of thing. And polycurve lets you connect a bunch of those curves together, like so. However, while that's nice, if you're going to be making maps like world maps, then you'll really want the fractal tools, which create kind of jagged lines like this that are rough and jagged. And they all work the same as the normal ones, except they create fractal lines. So here's the polycurve tool, and we'll go ahead and make an island with it. Just click like that, then back here. Now, you'll notice that there, right-click to finish the shape. You'll notice that there's a gap right here. To close that up and create that, make that a solid figure, go to Transform and down to Close Selected Figures. This will close the figure and make it solid like this, and fill it with whatever color you happen to have selected. Which leads us right into colors. This is the line color, which you can change to whatever you want. We'll leave it at black though, and whoops, that's the fill color, which is black now. We'll leave that at white though. Here's the background color, which we'll set to a blue to represent the ocean. And the grid color you can change around, but we'll leave it where it is. Over here are the fractal settings, which allow you to smooth out shapes by dragging it one way, or make them a bit rougher by dragging it the other way. And I kind of like that actually, so we'll leave it about there. The seed tool lets you change just kind of the general shape, and it will really change it, so you really get different shapes as you swim around with that. That looks kind of close to our original. So moving on to the graph paper. Here we have just the normal square. This is no grid, which is pretty self-explanatory. You can have a hex grid, a rotated hex grid, a triangle grid, a diamond grid, half diamond grid, which is good for isometric sort of three-dimensional maps, and a pole grid, which is for looking down at the top of a planet or something like this. Now you'll notice we're off-center here, so we'll turn the grid off. The easiest way to get back on center is go up to the magnifying tool and click Fit, which will center it on our island and whatever else you've drawn, and also set it at a nice magnification. Back with lines, here's the different shapes. You can change it to whatever you want. And these are the ends, which allow you to put arrows or whatever you want to the front and back ends. This changes the thickness if you're using a numeric line style, and I'm not exactly sure what a numeric line style is. I'm guessing one of these, maybe, or something. I don't know. So up here are some of the kind of cooler tools. Pan obviously lets you click and drag the map around. Did it fit? This is the select tool. You can select different objects, which will be more helpful when you start putting items and icons rather. The undo and redo tools, always handy. Definitely keep those handy. The ruler tool lets you measure from point A to point B. So you can see our island's about 25 miles long. The measurement string lets you measure in a bunch of different corners and turns and all this stuff. And yes. Now you can change the units. You saw it was in miles. Right click and go down to change units, and you can do centimeters, inches, feet, cubits, yards, meters, fathoms, etc., all the way down to parsecs. And it keeps it constant. So if miles was a little over 20 miles, and you change it to kilometers, then you'll get a little over 36. So it's the same distance, it just changes the units. It doesn't actually, I guess, change the actual distance, if that makes sense. Let's see, how much time do we have? Well, that's getting close to end of part 1. I'll be making part 2, which will explain items here, and the layers, and moving things forward and backwards. This we'll call our tutorial map, so we'll go up and save. Actually, before we do that, really quick, if you go down to properties, let's turn the grid on first, so you have your squares. If you go down to properties, you can see you've got a nice thing in measurements here. Let's set the unit to miles, right here. And say 1 square side length equals 20 miles. Now when we go back to our map and measure it, you can see our island's almost 470 miles long. It changes how big each square is. Nice for making different sizes of maps. So this program's nice because you can do all sorts of things. You can make terrain maps like this, big continents and what have you, or you can make city maps using some of the icons, which we'll get to in part 2, and you can even make dungeon maps for your D&D things with the squares, and they've got some fancy floor icons and this sort of thing. But we'll get all of that to part 2. Part 3, I'm probably going to show you a map that I've spent some time on, and just kind of explain it. So, save. Tutorial map. We'll just save over that one, actually. That was a failed attempt from a previous try. Overwrite, yes. Alright, thanks for watching. If you like this, like it, or even better, subscribe. And if you didn't like it, then dislike it, I guess. But see you next time.